and I perished with hunger, he says. Now what was he thinking about here now? Bodily, what was he thinking about?
Stomach.
Yeah, his stomach. His stomach. He says, I will arise and go to my father, and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee. Now, you know what? I'll tell you what. Apparently this boy has been taught about heaven. Somewhere in his life, his father taught him about heaven and who God was. I think I mentioned this in another last message I had too, okay? And he says, and before thee. Now, he might have still had a little bit of con in him. You see, if you want to get something, say, God, Father, I've sinned against heaven and earth. He thought, well, that's good for one meal anyway, right? Welcome me back. He says, I have sinned against heaven and earth and before thee, and I am no worthy to be called thy son. Make me one as your hired servants. Okay. And then he arose and came to his father, but when he was yet a great way off. Now the other two stories were how valuable you are and how much God cares about you. Tells how the father's love was for his son. Do you think the father here at this time thought, well, I'm not going to take him back because he don't really mean to come back. He's just hungry. His love went beyond all that, you see. He was willing to bring his son back for an opportunity for him to come back into the sheepfold, right? That's really important. That's, you can't manufacture that kind of love. You might think you can, but you can't. Okay. And I think it's sort of like our veterans too that we remember today. There was men that sacrificed themselves, you understand, out of the love for their country. Can you imagine being a soldier on the battlefield, getting shot at, and your buddy in the foxhole with you just got blown up? Okay, and you think about this. And they knew the country they just came from, which was America, right? And there's things going on in America that isn't right. Now, did you ever think of this way? I'm fighting for America, and there's people in America that don't have good thoughts about us or about the things that they're doing. There's people robbing banks and hurting people in America, and I'm fighting for the freedom so they can do that. Does that sound a little scary? Yeah. And I'm going to die here for that?
I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. Well, I got my little helper here. He's busting some bread in my nose or something. Yeah, I'm out of here, So you see, yes, I do know there's probably soldiers that felt that way and didn't want to be there, but I believe most of those soldiers want to fight for their country, because guess who was back home? Their loved ones. Their loved ones. Wow. It takes your breath away, doesn't it? And you realize that, okay? All right, now, the Father had a loving heart. In each one of these stories, I'm going to end here. The Father's love for us is immeasurable. Immeasurable. And in Christ, okay, we are to have that immeasurable love too. And how do we get that immeasurable love? By being connected to Him. By following Him. One of the words Jesus said to his disciples, to Peter when he was fishing, He says, follow me. Now Paul, I never read where Peter came kicking and screaming. Jesus didn't pull him out of the boat, cross the beach, and says, you're following me. Didn't do that. And in fact, he says to people, come unto me. Jesus had a voice that was, when he spoke, E.F. Hutton would have he'd be listening. That's important. Now you say, well, Paul, It's a wonder why somebody would say, what's that about? Well, I could tell you a quick story. That was my chair when I was 9 years old, or younger. You remember the story, Dick, I told you about me smoking? Somebody says, you know, when I was at work, people used to say, Paul, did you ever smoke? Yeah, I smoked, you know. Really? And they're all trying to figure out a way to quit smoking. And I said, well, yeah, I smoked. They said, well, how did you quit? I said, well, Dad caught me. Well, what year was that? I was 9 years old. I was supposed to. And this chair, I sat in the kitchen. You remember this story, Dick? I was sitting in the kitchen, me and my brother, and he was 2 years younger than me. He was 7. Think of that. I was the older brother influencing my younger brother. Smoking Lucky Strikes. You know, the hard stuff. I'm not talking about this filter stuff, you know. We're sitting on this chair in the kitchen because that's where Mom had us sitting when Dad came home from work. Walks in the door with his lunch bucket, looks over here. What's this? I remember those 2 words. What's this? And Mom over here, she thought she was Pharaoh. Tell him. So since I was the oldest, and I'm probably the most humble and scared at that time, you know, when you get down so far, you can't go any farther. Yeah. I thought life was over. Really, I did. You know, because Dad, you didn't mess with Dad. Mess with Mom. Walk all over her. Isn't that terrible? But you felt guilty about it, but you still did it. But Dad, no. Dad told you once, the next time, off with your head. You know, I didn't like that too much, but you know, I thank God for that. My dad like that. Okay, he didn't know the Lord, like you know, like the sheep here. Okay? But when he said something, he meant it, and you knew he meant it. But anyway, so I told him. I said we were smoking. Put his lunch bucket down over here. Walk through the kitchen, up the hallway into the bathroom, and you can hear this. I thought, life's over. Because I was never hit with the belt before. You understand? At 9 years old. I got it when I was 14. Never had. I thought, I'm dead. We're both dead. I felt sorry for my little brother because he was a little small in stature. You know, the guilt, I can still remember this as if it just happened. Dad never come out. He went to bed. You know why I can tell this story so well? Because of that. And then you know what? I was about 50 years old when I was telling this story, and all of a sudden I got this voice that talked to me and said, Paul, did you ever think Dad thought he was part of the problem, not part of the solution?
Because he's smart.
Because he's smart. And I just wanted to be like Dad. You know, me and my dad didn't have a lot of time together because he worked afternoon turn. If anybody know how moms are at home with the kids, Dad's working afternoon turn. Then when they get into school, you don't have much time either. So there wasn't a good, a real solid relationship with Dad, other than he was the boss. You know, it's important to know in a relationship where you stand. So I tried to do everything. Go ahead, Judy.
Paul, I have a chair just like that. That's why I asked you. That was my timeout chair.
Yeah.
I watched many little nieces and nephews and a lot of children, and they all knew that was the timeout chair.
Yeah. And to finish this story, when my sister came along 15 years after me, you know, the chair wasn't good in this color. What color did it become?
Pink.
Very good. Pink. It wasn't for the cancers thing. It was for the girl, okay? Now, if you check this chair out, there's still pink in the brain. Because when I got, years later, after we got married, I took that chair. Because Dad had put it together. You can still see some of the hole. And best he could, it was wobbly. You couldn't sit on it. So I took it home and I took that whole thing apart. This rung was broke here. It wasn't a piece cracked. I had to make a new piece here. Glued and everything, the bottom.
Solid as a rock.
Solid as a rock. This is my ottoman at home. I put a pillow on, yeah. But anyway, so I stripped it and everything, but the pink is in there to remind me it's for my sister.
Yeah.
But also, the one thing I want you to remember about these chairs, do you know where Jesus is seated today?
Yes.
Where?
The right hand of the Father.
The right hand of God. And you know, through the right hand of God, in Jesus, all our blessings come, don't they?
Yes. Yes.
Don't they?
Yes.
Through the right hand.
Yes.
Remember how I told you what 5 stands for?
Grace.
Grace. Through the right hand, I offer grace to you. Thank you. Okay? And you know how I'm going to do that? He says he wants out of here early today. So, so listen, put Christ, keep Christ on the chair.
Yes.
Don't you get on it.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
This is a place of authority,
Yes.
power, of mercy, and grace.
Yes.
With that, I'll bow. Okay? Let's bow. Thank you.